Mr. Calabria, you're here today before this committee to explain why the agency that you are in charge of, FHFA, needs to charge an additional fee to homeowners who want to refinance their mortgage during the pandemic. And as I understand it, you've said you need to do this because the coronavirus pandemic is costing your agency money. And there's money that you said is going to come from loan losses, money from foreclosure moratorium losses, money from servicer compensation. My question for you is, wouldn't homeowners would actually save money by refinancing their mortgages, yes?
Let me clarify, this isn't costing our agency anything. It's costing Fannie and Freddie. We're two distinct things. We're not Fannie and Freddie, we're FHFA. Fannie and Freddie requested these fees. They said they would be distressed if they wouldn't. Obviously, a refinancing improves borrowers in a better situation. But again, I want to emphasize, nobody's payment goes up because of this.
Correct, but there is without this adverse fee. So we have this adverse market fee that we're dealing with here. Without this adverse market fee, this creates an additional fee on homeowners when they refinance that would not exist if you had not put forth the adverse market fee.
Without this fee, I'm not paying to keep people who've lost their jobs in their home. Without this fee, families are on the street. Without this fee, families are...
Mr. Calabria, reclaiming my time. Mr. Calabria, homeowners can refinance with or without this fee. By adding the adverse market fee into the refinance process, you are increasing the cost of refinancing for homeowners. Their overall mortgage payment will go down by refinancing. I understand how a refinance works.
Thank you.
But as compared to no adverse market fee versus your proposal, which is adverse market fee, homeowners are being asked to pay more.
Congresswoman, I would certainly welcome your assistance in finding a way for us to pay to keep people in their home, which is my first priority here. I appreciate the burden on people.
I have an idea for you, Mr. Calabria. Did you go to Congress, instead of creating fees on families that total, $5 or $6 million, why don't you simply, $5 or $6 billion, why don't you go to Congress and ask them?
Why didn't Congress pay for these things when the CARES Act was passed?
Well, have you asked us?
Was there not understood that if you pose mandates on private companies via legislation, as one does in the CARES Act, it was widely understood when the CARES Act was passed that costs would be placed on the mortgage market? Perhaps I naively assumed that when those who voted for the CARES Act knew that perhaps they didn't know there would be costs, so this is why it's been delayed to give Congress the opportunity. This is why the numbers are being presented today. So if Congress wants to come in and provide the funding, the fee goes away. It's really quite that simple.
But Mr. Calabria, you're in charge of the agency. It's your job to come to us and say, we need additional resources. One way we could get it is by increasing the costs on homeowners who are already struggling to stay in their homes, to add costs to a refinance that is in fact designed to benefit homeowners. It's not our job. I mean, we're here today. You could have come to us today and asked us for this $6 billion so that we avoid putting these costs on the homeowners, and yet you're not.
And that's why, respectfully, Congressman, we've delayed the fee so that Congress can come up with a solution. The fee has not been implemented.
Okay, so let me ask you again, have you asked Congress for this money?
I am not. We can find a way to pay for it in the mortgage market. Because again, the charters require expenses to be covered by income. I simply assume that in Congress passing the CARES Act and Congress having passed the charters, that Congress very clearly intended for me to recoup expenses via income because that's a statutory framework.
Of course, Mr. Calabria, but you write the budget. You know how much money you need.
Congresswoman, we don't write, these are the fees that, you have CBO. None of this went through CBO. If the CARES Act had been scored, and again, I also want to emphasize, we don't determine the ultimate cost of the borrower. The lender determines the cost of the borrower. This is the fee charged to lenders, not a fee charged to borrowers.
You don't think lenders, you, Mr. Very free market, don't think that lenders will pass this fee on to borrowers?
That's a question upon lenders, just like any costs out of Dodd-Frank will ultimately pass.
Have you
upon
had any
borrowers.
conversations with lenders that suggest that they will absorb this fee
Some of
rather
them,
than
yes.
passing it on to homeowners?
Some of them said they would absorb it.
Really?
Yes, I'm
Would
happy
you
to.
provide to the committee? I know
Yes.
that those
I
lenders
would.
that have
I
agreed
would
to
be
absorb
happy
the
to
fee.
connect you to lenders that said they would absorb some of it.
Thank you.
The gentle lady's time has expired. Thank you very much, Ms. Porter.